With rumors of a Nintendo Direct on Friday, and a collector's edition of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 seemingly being leaked by a retail company, I thought it was about time for me to give you 5 more hopes of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. What's going on, everyone? My name's Brosho, and welcome to a brand new video. Today, with all these factors seemingly coming up, I want to give you guys 5 more hopes that I had for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. So if you guys could start off by giving the video a like, I would deeply appreciate that. So let's get into the video. So number 5 on my list is that we have a playable Zelda. Ever since we saw that first Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, everyone has been speculating that Zelda will be playable based on the fact that her hair is shorter, which usually means some time has passed. Hopefully in this game, Zelda will be playable, and you'll be able to maybe switch out with Link, and each of them, Link and Zelda, will both have their own abilities that you can switch in between. Like maybe Zelda is a magic user, while Link uses swords, shields, arrows, and things to that nature. I think having Zelda as a playable character and can open more ways and possibilities of either exploring the landscape or solving puzzles. This could also open the field for having playable co-op in Breath of the Wild 2, so maybe you and a friend can play either locally or using Nintendo Switch Online and solve puzzles together and conquer dungeons. But even if we don't get a playable Zelda, maybe she may be like a backup character or a support character that supports Link in battle, perhaps healing him or casting magic, using magic to refill maybe like his arrows. But either way, I think it would be a really fun idea, and it would really expand Hyrule, and for that reason, that's why a playable Zelda is number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list is a restored Hyrule. Since the Zelda team is reusing the same world for Breath of the Wild 2, I think it's only natural that to progress the game, you would restore at least some of Hyrule's buildings, because all across Hyrule, everything is in ruin. And I think it's natural to restore some of Hyrule so that you're not playing through some of the same game all over again. Whether they restore Hyrule Castle, the Kala region, maybe some of the little outposts and everything, some of the ruined towns. I think that would be a good idea to expand and to add like more treasure. But I understand if they can't, because we don't know how long it has been since Breath of the Wild. Because it could, for all we know, it could honestly be like a few days. It could be just like freaking Phantom Hourglass after the Wind Waker, like a week later or whatever that was. But rebuilding the buildings and rebuilding the ruins, by doing that you could add new locations and new outposts, new places to trade, new places to buy, new towns that were once ruined, and I think that would make it a much better game and add a lot more places on top of what we already have. They could also add more around some of the towns and villages that we already have also. They could add new mini games, new trials, maybe new shrines around those places, and new characters. And for that reason, that's why it's my number 4. Number 3 on my list, one of my favorites, is I hope that they give Ganon a really good backstory. In the original Breath of the Wild, what we got the tale of Calamity Ganon and everything that happened 10,000 years ago. But the question still remains, where did this Ganon come from? What will they talk about? Will they talk about how he came from the Gerudo tribe? Like, maybe even long before the older Calamity Ganon, and maybe he came up during that time, and he was defeated by the hero, and sealed underneath Hyrule Castle by the royal family back then. And it was a secret that they kept hidden, and they've been perhaps using his body for some reason, maybe as a power source or as fuel. But that's a detail that we don't know in the original Breath of the Wild, and hopefully it'll be solved in this game. Hopefully they'll also explain, like, if Ganon is down underneath Hyrule Castle, how did he create Calamity Ganon? How did Calamity Ganon come to be. I understand that he's a pure form of hate and darkness, but if Ganon has been sealed underneath Hyrule Castle for all this time, how could Calamity Ganon come to be? And also I want to know, who sealed Ganon up in the first place? Why hasn't there been another Ganon that has came? Which honestly makes sense, since that Ganon that we saw in the trailer is sealed underneath Hyrule Castle, but he's not completely dead. Ganon is definitely probably the best villain in the Zelda series, and the most recurring one. For that reason, that's why I want to see him have an amazing backstory. Number 2 on my list, and something that I want to see probably more than anything, is the return of dungeon item. In my last video, I remember I said I wanted to see dungeons return, conventional dungeons. Dungeon items is something that I really want to see. I don't know if the Sheikah Slate is going to return. It probably will, since a lot of those mechanics are built into the game and they were main staples of the original Breath of the Wild. But seeing dungeon items return, perhaps in its place or alongside it, I think could be a good thing. I don't know how many dungeons they would add, but I want to see a lot of the dungeon items, like the hook shot, the mirror shield, the boomerang, or the fire rod. I want to see items like these come back. I want items like these to return, so then we can use them in places, not only in dungeons, but also in the overworld. Hopefully adding these items back into the game would add tons and tons of new mechanics. Hopefully also you can upgrade these weapons using maybe like ores, different kinds of... Hopefully you can upgrade these items and increase their usage by using ores or other kinds of minerals, and have someone upgrade them to make them have more functionality and open up new areas in the map. And now number 1 on my list, I want this game to be more difficult, and I want it to have returning enemies from previous games. I want to see enemies like Gibdos, Darknuts, Wolfos, Erelfos, and Decobabas, along with also I want to see returning bosses, not only in the dungeons if they return, but I also want to see them return in the overworld. Bosses like Goma I want to see perhaps in the overworld, but bosses like Twin Rova and Dark Link I could understand if they're in the dungeons as dungeon bosses. But like with Dark Link, I understand if they can't put them in because they already have the skin of Dark Link in the game, but I want to see these bosses and enemies return. I think that would be super cool on top of the enemies we already have. And also if they, like they did in Zelda 1 and also like they did in this game, perhaps of these returning enemies, they could have them in different colors, signifying that they're more powerful. Hopefully they add like either in dungeon, or maybe they add like graveyards, and you could have Gibdos, some maybe blue, maybe a light blue, maybe a white, and maybe like a darker blue to signify how powerful the enemies are. But I think that would be a pretty cool idea, and also going back to the previous thing, but hopefully they can bring back some bosses and also put them in the overworld. Like I believe Lynels and maybe Hinox are returning enemies, I think from Zelda 1. I can't remember. I know Lynels have been in the game before. I believe in A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. Hinox, I don't remember if they're returning enemies, but hopefully we could have more overworld bosses. I think they had like the perfect amount of overworld bosses in this game, just spread out all over the place, and they got more powerful as you progress through the game, and hopefully these bosses could do that too. And I want to see tons of enemies in different places, tons of new returning enemies in different places also. I think by returning these enemies, that would add a new layer of difficulty to the game and be nostalgic to older fans of the Zelda series like myself. But those are 5 more hopes for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Hopefully we see some of these things if they do show a trailer in this new Nintendo Direct that may or may not be coming on Friday. Hopefully, I think we're going to get a few of these things. I think they're going to bring back some returning enemies and possibly have some new enemies in this upcoming game. But tell me what you guys thought about my top 5 hopes for Breath of the Wild 2. If you guys liked the video, leave a like, leave a comment. Also subscribe to the channel to see more Legend of Zelda videos. I've got a few more in the works, but I've been Bro Show, and I'll see you guys in the next video.